Bam! All right, all right. I think we're live. I think we are live. I think we are live. Let's see. We're like, all right. Good Monday morning, everyone who's here. Like, so many technical thingies. There we go. Where? I don't even know where I am. Okay, cool. So many windows. Hello, everyone. This is Ingrid and Megan from Indeed. Ingrid and Megan. This is Chat.
Hi, chat.
Hello, everyone.
Alina Seri. Hi, it's 5:22 p.m. and I'm developing. Oh, you're at the end of your day. We are just in the beginning. Joe Nice Guy, good morning from Brazil. Obrigado. Let me tell you how this stream is going to work. So this is a career advice stream, career coaching stream, career like fixing any kind of confusion in your regarding your career, or maybe inspire you to make a change, or give you some confidence in making a change, like or just like feeling good about change, that there can be change. Like, we don't know exactly what it's gonna be. It's basically, but the important thing is that me and Megan and Ingrid are here for you, and just write whatever thoughts you have in chat and inspire us to talk a little bit, or questions, and we shall try to alleviate it. And I should also make clear this is a sponsored stream, or rather, this week of content and for function is sponsored by Seen by Indeed, which is as I've written in the copy. Let's see here. How do we describe Seen by Indeed? We shouldn't get in too far into it, but
Sure. Yeah, so Scene is a matching platform specifically designed for technical candidates and companies looking to hire for technical roles. So if you've ever used Indeed in the past, it's all jobs, it's every single job you can apply for. Scene is specifically for tech jobs, and you get matched with opportunities. And we also offer free career coaching services, so anything from interview preparation to salary negotiation, job search tactics. That's the other component in addition to the matching.
yeah, and the career coaching aspect is, for me, like the one thing that really stood out, which is also why you are here, because when we have sponsors on, I tend to want to like ask if, can you come and give a little bit of your expertise, because it's nice and all to support the channel with money, but it's also good to actually give something to the community, where like they're like really showing like, hey, we know this, and give that away. And we've done that with Circle CI before, and just figured that we could do that with you as well. It felt like a really good match. So what we're gonna talk a little bit more about Seen by Indeed, like before the break, and also like before we head off. But for now, I would like to start, while you're thinking about what kind of questions to ask Megan and Ingrid and me. I just start out with the question of like, who are you, Megan and Ingrid? What's your background, and like how did you end up in this position, and like what's your expertise, and so on, like, and also why can't we see the cat today?
She's not being as loud as she normally is. You might hear her in a little bit, but I'm trying to keep her distance a little bit. But yeah, so I guess I'll start. So hi, I'm Ingrid. So I've been working with Indeed for about 2.5, oh, actually, no, completely for 4 years now, 2.5 years as a career coach. Prior to that, I was an operations analyst for Scene. And then before that, I was a technical recruiter for Cognizant. So that's kind of what makes me a little bit special in terms of career coaching, because I know what it looks like on the back end. for when you're submitting applications, what are the determining factors of why you're getting this role, why you're being rejected for it. So happy to answer any questions there. But yeah, I have a technical recruiting background, and really excited to be coaching because it allows me to do it pro bono instead of getting a commission or getting some sort of payoff for that. So I really enjoy it. My expertise lies in resumes or salary negotiations. So happy to answer any topics with that. But yeah, feel free to have all the questions coming. And Megan.
Yeah. So I'm Megan, and I started at the university here at UT Austin. I've been in career development for about 3 years. I was a career advisor there, and then I just joined SEEN almost a year ago. So I'm reaching my anniversary soon in a month or two. And I love working at SEEN. It's just so amazing to be able to help, like Ingrid said, pro bono, and provide all of these services free to our candidates, because it's so hard to get that kind of advice, and it costs so much money. So it's a really rewarding job, and we love what we do. I focused, obviously, when I was at the university on early stage for people who are just entering the career world and starting their careers, but also, expertise with resumes. We can help with interview prep, with career advancement. We have some questions coming in about that transition. How do you make that happen? So keep bringing those. We're really excited to help you all today.
Yep.
All right, brilliant.
I saw a lot about remote work. I wasn't exactly sure who started that in the beginning of the chat, but there is a website that you can go to for specifically remote roles. It's appropriately named at remote.com. So those are exclusively remote opportunities. And I know you were talking that you were a junior developer. Was it wise to do that? So those opportunities are for a broad range of anyone in their career on the remote website. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to take remote opportunities. Now everyone seems to be working from home, just given the current climate. Yeah. But I don't think that you should be kind of deterred from taking a remote role right out of college or when you're a new grad or a junior developer. Sometimes a lot of junior developers like to go into the office because that will have more in-person contact with a mentor, for example, or that in-person mentorship. So there's, benefits and, drawbacks to actually taking a remote role. You don't get that one-on-one contact and those answers right away, or, being able to have access to someone who can give you those answers. Online tends to be a little bit janky. So there's, pros and cons to that. I think it really depends on what kind of person you are. Do you enjoy working from home, for example, or remote opportunities? So, but the website that we do recommend is remote.com for those remote roles. Mm-hmm.
And I've also recommended remotive.com. So that's remotive.com. And even just doing a Google search, obviously you're going to find some sites that are not as good as others, so be discerning with that. But there are several sites that are dedicated to just those remote positions. And just like Ingrid said, they're all different levels, all different kinds of companies. So there's definitely that opportunity for you.
Yeah. Can you repeat that Earl again?
Remotive.com.
Remotive.com.
Yes.
It's like from my perspective, I'm one of those people who are like, I only function in like when there are people around. But I also recognize a lot like that remote work is very much a reality of life, and in tech that it needs to be done to a certain extent, and especially like now I have been like having to rethink a little bit like about like the resiliency of having a good remote first workplace. I
think that's a really good point that you bring up, though, and something that everyone should think about if you're considering that remote work. Are you energized by that physical interaction with people, or are you more energized by that privacy that you have? Because I think that can be a huge determining factor in that choice to make. For me, I'm extremely extroverted, and it sounds like I'm like you, Matthias, and I have to, be around people all the time, and I do feel less productive and a bit more, just lackadaisical if I'm not with other humans. So that's definitely something to think about before you make that leap.
Yeah, there have been a ton of studies done on remote work that really describe the biggest drawback is loneliness. So really considering that, even if you are a self-proclaimed introvert, sometimes that loneliness can get really detrimental to your workload.
Yeah. Venik points out that even if you're energized by people, you can still go to a co-working space. That's actually a really, really good point. The co-working space that I'm in right now actually have plenty of people that do that, that work from here, but the companies that they work for are in San Francisco, which is and for the people that didn't catch, this is Stockholm. So it's a really, really funky thing to do. But then this co-working space is super, super, super social. There's a lot of lunches, synced lunches and fikas, and there's 3 dogs walking around, and it's like so that's also like very possible to pull off.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. See what other questions we have.
Okay, so from SC Jinx UK, hi Megan and Ingrid, not necessarily an application question, but how often do you see people doing career pivots, i.e. from developer to DevOps, or are these kind of moves normally done within organizations?
This is such a good question.
Great question. How does this affect pay? Do employers often let applicants join at a mid-level, or is it always a jump back to junior? Great question there. You want to?
Yeah, so it's of course going to depend on where you're working, how they transition you over. As far as the frequency, it's not something super rare. We do see it, and we see success for our candidates doing that. The biggest thing with that transition is to make sure you're aware of what gaps are in your way, right? So look at your experience, look at your knowledge base, and then compare that to this next position. And you can do that either by asking for that job description, talking to somebody who's already in that role, but gather that information, do that research, and then say, okay, evaluate everything and make sure, okay, this is something I can accomplish. I need to do X, Y, Z before I actually am qualified for this next step. Once you are qualified, then start talking to that manager, and even before that, you can start those conversations, but let them know what your goals are. Hopefully you have that kind of relationship with your manager where that's a comfortable conversation, but sit down and make it known, and then, start working toward that. A lot of the time you can make a plan if you're in a big organization and you know that there's that opportunity to transition to another department or into that other role. You can actually make that plan and set those steps for yourself, so you're taking on those responsibilities, those types of projects that are transferable and relatable, and then when the time comes, you've got that resume that matches exactly what they're looking for.
Perfect. Yeah, I also would, I don't want to step on your rainbow at all, but from a recruiting perspective,
Here we go.
From a recruiting perspective, it's very difficult to convince a recruiter or a hiring manager, for that matter, that you're capable of doing a job when you have no experience in that particular realm. So upskilling is extremely important, showing that you have the tech stack that's necessary for that particular role. Are you upskilling in some fashion? Are you contributing to open source work at a base level? Do you have an active GitHub account? These are all things that you can prove that you are capable of doing the job, and really making sure that you tailor your resume and your experience to the role that you're applying for. That's the best thing you can do.
I think we had a question earlier about that too, about the resume and being specific. That's huge, and especially for those applicant tracking systems, tailoring is essential. Everyone's got to do it. You don't want to send the same resume to everyone when you're on the job hunt, because that's kind of white noise at that point. If you're not tailoring, it's not going to make it past that system. It's not going to make it to that recruiter. So if you have questions about that, definitely ask.
Yeah, and if you have a question about what ATS is, or applicant tracking software is, happy to give you the rundown of that. It's extremely important to tailor your resume to the role that you're applying for, because that's the best way to make it past the box.
Yeah, I'm a person who, I'm kind of like, I view myself as a jack of all trades, and I'm a little bit weird in the sense of I'm this dynamic person. I can do everything in a company. I've started and built companies from scratch, and I'm pride myself in being able to figure whatever situation I am in out. So I tend to want to be seen for that, and when I'm applying to companies, but that is completely unrealistic because of how recruitment pipelines work. Because you sit there with a budget attached to a very, very specific position, and you're allowed to hire a person with this very specific tool set. And like if you can model yourself into that pipeline, life is going to be so much easier.
Right.
We got another question from Bunty Brew. Cute name, I love it. I have been a front-end developer for the last 1.5 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In the month of January, I joined a new startup where I'm the single front-end dev, probably going to be lead in the next few months. Great. So I have 2 things to ask. How do I become a front lead engineer? What stuff should I look into more? And B, long-term goal is to become a full stack dev. But when I hear backend guys talking, most of the stuff feel like overwhelming. Kubernetes, okay, how do I overcome this? So this is great. This is actually what
amazing question.
Yeah, and it really directs to what the topic of what we were kind of practicing on for this particular day. Meg, you want to start and I'll finish?
Yeah. So that advancement again comes into play with identifying where you need to grow, and that happens in a lot of different avenues. Obviously, doing informational interviews is super helpful. Talk to people who are already full stacks or people who are that lead front-end engineer at their companies, and you can do that through LinkedIn, right? You can find people out there and just say, I'd love to chat with you, just 15 minutes if you can get on a call with me, I'd really appreciate that. Or if you're in the same city, let me take you to lunch or to get a cup of coffee, something to get that conversation going so that you can learn the ins and outs. And sometimes people feel a little bit apprehensive, especially with LinkedIn and resources like that, reaching out, cold connecting, right? But that's what that platform exists for. It is a networking platform, and that is its purpose. So get on there. Don't be shy. Reach out to these people who are in those roles you want to be in and get the good, the bad, and the ugly. Learn all of those great pieces, learn about the challenges that they face, and ask them also how they progressed in their own career. That's my favorite way of learning at the beginning with that research stage, to even see if this is something that you are wanting to do again, right? You can catch any kind of red flags that pop out at you, or that's something that me as an individual, I know I would struggle with constantly and I would not be happy in that role. So, hopefully that doesn't happen, and quite often it doesn't because you know what you're looking at, but it just helps to solidify that decision. And then, of course, talking to people again in your organization while you're working on developing those skills and becoming that next the person for that next role, right? Do you want to add to?
Yeah, Bunty Brew, I just want to point out that you're in a really great place right now at a startup, and being able to transition into that senior level role, because oftentimes those startups require you to be in a hybrid position. So I have a feeling that going into that lead position will come sooner rather than later, just because you're probably doing a lot of it already. You're probably entering that lead position already, doing leadership roles, mentorship, or taking on larger projects. So that's a great start because it's a great resume builder. But just like Megan said, making sure that you really want to do the languages that are associated with back-end work or full stack development work. You can kind of try it out if you go to Udemy. So that's Udemy, or Udacity, Udacity, or you can do some like practice tests for specific back-end or full stack languages that you can kind of get a feel like, well, do I really like this? Do I really not? So really doing some self-evaluation first, I think, is really important. Do you actually want to do this before you proceed to doing full stack?
Can I poke in a little bit on that?
Sure, yeah.
I think that here's something where I can add something. When it comes to full stack development, and when you're a front-end engineer and you're talking about Kubernetes and Redis, these are like when Kubernetes comes into the equation, that means that you're dealing with a little bit bigger systems and a little bit bigger organizations. And while it's absolutely possible to be a full stack developer, like in a small company where your stack is rather uncomplicated, but I've found that it becomes very unrealistic very fast to know the entire stack in a company that is of any reasonable size. If you are looking to be a lead, your skill set is much more important, that you learn to be this person that can ask good questions about things you don't know about and be able to transfer that to other teams. Be a person that can talk to backend developers and front-end developers and the data scientists, and be a person that kind of coordinates all of that, even though you only have cursory knowledge around those things. Still be a person that backend developers respect. They might not necessarily like trust your back-end skills because you don't have them to the degree that they have, and you just can't, like, but they will trust your ability to understand and forward their views.
It looks like we have a question from Freddie C about tailoring your resume. It's hard to do that when a recruiter doesn't even bother to respond no. Totally understand that. So I know it doesn't motivate you to continue. So just to give you a heads up, ghosting is extremely real in the recruiting space, especially for the tech industry. You've probably experienced it several times before, not hearing back, even if like you've gone to an interview or gotten to an on-site or did a phone screen and you just don't hear back and they've ghosted you. It's extremely frustrating. It's something that we're trying to fix on Scene, with the matching platform. But in general, the best thing I can do is, best thing I can advise you to do is just continue to make sure that you tailor your resume to the role. There are cases where you won't hear back, but you have a much higher chance of hearing back when you do tailor your resume and make sure that you're not including any kind of funky formatting in there. That may be one of the reasons why you're not even getting responses back, like even those automated messages saying that you were rejected. It's because the ATS can't read your resume and it can't find you. You may have your contact information in a header or in a footer or located somewhere funky on your resume that they can't even notify you if you've been rejected for the position.
Yeah, tailoring is just so huge right now, and it is time consuming and it is frustrating when you're not getting those responses you want. But most of the time we do find from our candidates who say there's silence or there's just immediate rejections, especially in these developer roles, that when they start that tailoring and start implementing that into their process, they start building a lot more traction. So I do think that that's a big blocker for most of our candidates. But Ingrid does have that insight as, a recruiter. She did that before. So I really think that that's a great perspective that you're bringing. And I did want to thank Zolgath for putting those links in there for us for Udemy and Udacity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Zolgath. Also, if you can hear my cat, I'm sorry. She's screaming from the door right now.
She wants the love.
That you're on the internet,
like sound is in the background. It's my cat.
I would like, it's up to you, but like I mean, actually, like, it would be nice to see the cat.
Sure, yeah. We grab her.
Like, and in the meantime, I just want to say, Bunty Brew says, thanks a lot, Megan, Ingrid, and MPJ, for your valuable advice. I love Udemy. I was a teaching assistant for one of the courses there, called Steel Web Dev course. And thank you again for doing these Twitch streams. That's so nice,
Here
Bunty Brew.
she is.
Oh my God.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry, thank you.
This is the loudmouth who's been outside the door.
What's the name?
Shoppers.
What?
Shoppers. Yeah, it's an unusual name.
Shoppers, as in many people doing shoppers.
Yeah, exactly. Many shoppers.
Many shoppers. The most important shoppers.
But Megan is extremely allergic, so I'm gonna put her back.
Oh my God.
That's why she had to hide. I get to pet her after this so that my face doesn't blow up on camera.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for suffering through that, Megan.
Drug Mart the cat.
Shoppers Drug Mart. Yep, exactly.
Oh, it's amazing. Okay. Oh, Jesus! Cat completely distracted me with this amazing.
It's a good break.
Very good break. Oh yeah, this is a really good one. One that I would like the answer to, by 4CD. Is LinkedIn a must-have in current days? Because
yes.
Yes.
Yes, it really is. It's huge right now. And networking is the most important part of anyone's career. Whether you're actively looking, passively looking, you have to constantly be thinking about that network. We always say to nurture your network when you're not using it, flex it when you need it. So that nurturing is something that goes on constantly, right? And you're staying active, and LinkedIn makes that convenient for all of us. And there's so many people on LinkedIn, and that's the first place the recruiter will go when they want to learn more. After looking at that resume, they're enticed, they like something that they see, they're going to go to LinkedIn and see what else you have to say about yourself. So it really is essential right now.
And just to drop some stats, 30% of all hires come from a referral. So I cannot stress enough how important networking is, because companies will often go within before they even post a job. So sometimes there are a ton of postings that aren't even being shown. They're doing internal hires. They're asking for referrals. So especially for those of you who are a little bit more senior or high-level executives, I'm not sure if that's your purview here, but if you happen to be in here, it's really important to be doing that networking, because those jobs oftentimes don't get posted at all, and they're looking for referrals.
Yeah, so if you don't have that LinkedIn profile, go create it, add it to your resume, make it a live link so that they can click that easily.
Yeah. Oh God. It was an answer that I hoped for. It wasn't the answer that I hoped for.
If you're already kind of gainfully employed, you can just kind of nurture your LinkedIn. Yeah. But if you are actively on the job hunt, it's extremely important.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things that is good. LinkedIn is so. It's always some person coming and like, I saw your experience in Java. Please work for a consulting. It's just like, you just go, ew. But I think that it's fine. It's just like, I think that LinkedIn for me just has gotten like a bad vibe for all the like not so ethical side of recruiters that just like spam you and don't really think about you as a person.
That's real. Yeah, that's extremely real. And I noticed Project Gore on the same topic of LinkedIn. What about behavior with context? Should one accept every single invite he receives? So there's a couple things to that. So if you notice your contacts list, so the number of contacts you have on LinkedIn directly correlates to the amount of traction you receive. So once you reach that 500 contact threshold, then you're more likely to appear in searches that recruiters are conducting. So it is to your benefit to have that 500 threshold. You don't need to go beyond that. So you don't need to accept those contacts, but it's good practice I don't accept all contacts unless I know them and I've made that connection, or if they're reaching out to me with a message prior before asking for that connection, saying, hey, I came across your profile, wanted to learn more about this. So if they're actively making a gesture to get to know you a little bit better, I would accept. You never know where your next opportunity is going to come from, or if you can or you're in the place to help somebody.
And I will say too, yes, we think it's absolutely necessary to be on LinkedIn, but everybody's different and you have your own reservations and reasons for those reservations. So if you are very against that and you don't want to be on that platform, there are still other ways to network. It does take a lot of that in-person engagement too, but that can be beneficial as well, and sometimes just as beneficial as being on LinkedIn. So you can explore other avenues for that networking, but LinkedIn makes it much easier. And I really feel you can speak more to this, Ingrid, but I think it's a really big advantage for those recruiters when they are looking to hire to be able to go to that LinkedIn profile. And if you don't have that, can that negatively impact that recruiter?
Absolutely, because they're going to try and look you up, and so do hiring managers. They want to check out your LinkedIn before bringing you in for an interview. So I wouldn't normally be recommending LinkedIn because they're a direct competitor of ours, but we're completely objective resources to you. So I want to make sure that you're casting a wide net as possible, making sure that you're utilizing all the resources. So again, I have no stake in LinkedIn at all.
Yeah, but while I think it's nice that you do stay neutral and like you're not afraid of recommending LinkedIn for the things that it is good at. Like one thing that like I really liked about Seen by Indeed and like similar products in that category is that it shields your contact information better than LinkedIn does. Right. I get so many random people that contact me without being a match at all. They have just like very cursory looked at my profile and they basically make me do the filtering for them, which is very disrespectful. What I like about Seen is that like people can't get my contact information nilly-willy, and like I am the one like deciding who to contact instead of like being spammed in that way.
Yeah, and employers don't even see your resume when they contact you. You have to establish that connection first to actually give them anything. They're basically only seeing your profile, so basically your work experience. And then once you decide, yeah, I want to establish this connection, then they'll be able to see your resume and be able to contact you. So we do take privacy really seriously there. And, and I know because of the reason, like the developers especially get inundated with jobs that don't match anything that they're looking for, and it's extremely annoying. We totally get that. That's why we've established this platform, with the matching algorithm to match you better. You may not get as many, but you're going to get ones that are more related.
Mm-hmm. And we've had several people make this comment here of Java related to JavaScript and how that's not the same thing, and you get all of those requests from people when you've got that JavaScript skill set and they're asking you to come in as a Java developer. That's not going to happen with Scene. And that algorithm really looks at your skill set. That's the most heavily weighted section of your profile. And based on those skills and that position, if you have enough pieces in common there, then you will be presented that opportunity. And like Ingrid said, you have to indicate interest in that and have that mutual interest with you and the employer before any contact information is shared. So
yeah, it's just the way, for me, it's just the way it should work, really. It just makes a lot of sense as a service.
Within the time you got FOMO. Is there a downside of not getting a master's degree? Yeah, real experience teaches much better than college. I totally agree with that, especially from a recruiting standpoint. So education's great. It's not everything. A lot of times hiring managers and recruiters both will prioritize experience over education. And I don't know if you guys are up to date on current trends, but FANG companies now are not requiring a degree. They don't consider it part of the application process, and that's kind of huge, especially for those larger FANG companies, to not do that. So they take experience way more seriously than education. If this is something you want to pursue, though, and kind of, bolster your skill set, absolutely do it. Degrees don't hurt you at all. They're really great resume builders, but it's leaning towards more experience to be more competitive.
And for anyone who might not know, what is FANG?
FANG! So it's Facebook, Amazon, Netflix. Well, there's 2 A's.
Google. Oh, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, for me, I can also go in there a little bit because I'm self-taught. I don't have a college or any not much education, formal education when it comes to programming. From my background, I started my own business and wrote the e-commerce and logistics software for that business, and that's how I learned programming basically. So whenever I've applied to jobs, knowing that I have a disadvantage over formal educated people, I've always tried to play up my entrepreneurship. Because as an employer you really want to have people that can get shit done and because sometimes in a big organization that things get stuck, you want someone that can torpedo through an organization, and I kind of try to make that reflect in the applications that I've done. So I'm gonna paste the link to an application that I did for Spotify, at spotify.mpj.me.
Nice.
Which was basically this custom little website that I made in addition to my resume and my normal application, where I figured that it would be easy for people to send around URL, and also the fact that I made a website very specifically for Spotify would show a ridiculous amount of front feet. Is that even an expression in it's a Swedish expression, but this worked out really, really well, and my recruiter at Spotify still refers to this as wow, this was very, very effective. And just having something that is a little bit dorky, a little bit effective, and try to use your weirdness as an advantage, basically.
Totally.
Absolutely. We're all unique, and you bring unique attributes with you. And I think recognizing that and really playing into that is so key, because that shows why you're so valuable and something that might be missing from their link at the moment. So,
and that's going to make you stand out from your competition as well.
Absolutely.
We are coming up on the end of our first hour. So we are going to take a short break, but like 7 minutes to give me and Megan and Ingrid some space to get air. But before we go off on that break, we can talk a little bit again about what Seen by Indeed is, and perhaps like maybe why should you sign up for Seen by Indeed during the break?
Sure.
Of course, yeah. So Seen by Indeed is a product of Indeed. That's our parent company. And we are a matching platform specifically for tech talent. So it kind of weeds out all of those other industries and people looking to fill other positions that are not relevant to you. On Seen, you will fill out a profile based on your information. Our algorithm will then match you with opportunities posted by employers. If it's something that looks interesting to you, you will click interested. You will then be presented to the employer. If they also agree, then that mutual interest will be made and your contact information will be shared. You can set up that screen and move forward in the hiring process. On the other side of Seen, we are also a career services platform. So all of our services are 100% free to candidates, and we offer a whole bunch of different things. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, free resume reviews, interview preparation, salary negotiation, job search tactics. Did I say salary negotiation? Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's important.
It is. Yeah, negotiation is important. But yeah, basically anything that concerns you for your job search, we can help answer.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. And so make sure that if this is something that you're interested in, and if you're in one of the countries that Seen by Need operates in, which is the US,
Canada, the UK, and Ireland.
Or if you're interested in possibly relocating to one of those.
That's correct.
Yes.
Then you should sign up for Seen by Indeed like during the break. You can find the link down here. Use that link to know that beseen.com/funfunfunction, so that they know that you came from this stream, because that's nice.
Yes.
And yeah, we will be back answering more questions after the break. When you're like, yes, see you all in 7 minutes ish.